Good evening. Once again, we return to the story of Caius, now the Daedric Claymore-wielding spell sword, Dunmer, Eternal Champion, member of the Mages Guild, and currently trying to find things to do while improving his skills. Alright, while I'm not exactly fond of having to just go over and over with the Mages Guild, this is probably my best option.
I don't know if you can assist me at all, Caius. I'm looking for a mage powerful enough to cast the spell Banish Daedra, with little chance of failure. Could you?
I don't think I can.
Ah well, the search goes on.
Yeah, that takes that takes quite a bit more than what I can do. Although I wonder if I could build a spell that does better. We'll leave that for another time.
It's a very great honor, my dear Caius, to be selected to aid the famous Mordorine Buckingston, whom I trust you have heard of before. Yes, he has specifically asked for you to guard him while he sleeps. Obviously, a mage of such standing has enemies jealous of his enormous power. I trust you will accept this honor?
Of course.
Just as I suspected. Mordorin Buckingston is just beginning his 3-hour trance. You must guard the Mages Guild during that time to protect him while he is vulnerable. At the end of this trance, he will be transported to the Aetherius, and once he is safe, the guild will send someone with your reward. Stand aside, apprentice whelp. We mean to cut down Mordorin Buckingston before he can awaken. Move, or we'll cut you down too.
So at this point I also want to make sure that I'm casting healing spells where I can. This will be good to sell. It's hard to take them all out in a stack like this just because I know I'm gonna be missing out on some of the treasure. Yeah, tough to call if I want Fireball or Shock.
Fool, you should know better than to disturb a mage in a spell trance. You shall pay for this. Leave the guild hall now. I will bring this matter before the circle.
I didn't know.
If you kill me, you will be thrown...
Alright. That's fun and all, but I'm not gonna get... I'm not gonna take the penalty for trying to find somebody to do my spell. Yeah, well, less of an extra reward is my penalty, I suppose.
A young woman in deep blue robes bows low before you. The guild sends its compliments on a job well done. Mortimer in Buckingston is most grateful. Here is the long shirt he promised.
It's not much of a reward.
It is a very great honor, my dear Caius, to be selected to aid the famous Thadaval Greenheart, whom I trust you've heard of before. He has asked specifically for you to guard him while he sleeps. Obviously, a mage of such standing has enemies jealous of his enormous power. I trust you will accept this honor?
Why not? Yeah. Alright, again, it's not worth that much of an effort.
You're too late. I gave the job to some spell sword.
I'm right in front of you.
Recipes are a daft business. Magician, I'm working on a formula that calls for a goodly piece of Malanx. What is a Malanx? An herb? A mineral? A mineral? Well, I've researched the matter and found that a Malanx is a mummy. Imagine that. And this particular mummy is right here in Daggerfall. Could I talk to you about going into its tomb and grabbing a piece of Malanx for, say, 560 gold pieces?
Sure.
Jolly good, magician. It'll be worth 560 to you. Now, the mummy's tomb is not too far away at all. It shouldn't take you longer than 10 days to get there. Make your grab and get back. Remember, it's got to be fresh, preferably off its body. The name of the place is something like Albaweir's jail. It's sure to be gruesome there. You might want to bring a sword or some such thing. Well, good luck, young dark elf.
Before we go, I'll identify some of these items. I know better than to equip stuff without saving now. Yeah, so they both give me levitate. I'll probably just sell these. I wish I remember who I needed to talk to generate a spell. Just because if I could do the Banished Daedra, it'd help me out a little bit. There we go. %1 per level. Brilliant. So a 5% chance plus 1 per level. I have 130. Yikes. Getting rid of Daedra is a tricky business. Alright. I would have preferred to sell some of these items. That doesn't matter, actually. I'll just put them on the wagon. This never really seems to work, but we'll give it a shot. In this case, I'm not too worried about taking damage just because I'm looking for more opportunities to heal up. So it's unlikely to give me enough, it's unlikely to give me enough power to be worth it, but that should be good for sale. I'm not sure if there's a way that I can identify myself. That would actually be a good way to bring up my skills in certain things. for now, I'll pay for it. So far, this has been pretty linear, which I like. Of course, this is one that gives me more than one. Who did that? In these particular cases, I've decided to start just kind of going down one path, getting to the end, and if it means it's a long way back, that's fine, but I'm just trying to minimize the number of times I walk by. Alright, it wins this round. I'm trying to minimize the number of times that I walk by the goal, and just not realize it. I'm never gonna understand pathways like this. Now these things always wind up being mazes. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close the door. I will head back here, but I want to exhaust the other possibilities first. Alright, now I need to be careful if there's a spider in the area because I don't have... I don't have the spell points to get my free action back. And I've wound up in a maze one way or the other. This is the one I was afraid of. Okay, it was like a free action. Alright. Just enough. But I need to make myself scarce now. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sneak up on this person, but we'll try. Again, the aim here is to try and advance in the Mages Guild, and the only way that I can do that is by increasing my strength in different schools of magic. The only way that I can raise my strength in my highest skill, which is Restoration, is by casting its spells. So I'm less worried about taking damage now. It's just an excuse for me to cast Restoration and try and improve my ability again. So no shortage of riches to be found in here, but still no mummy. Thought that might have been related to the mission, but apparently not. Again, I'm always happy to lighten the pockets of anything that I fight, but in terms of picking up items, I'm a lot more choosy now. These seem like perfect places for a quest item to be, but I keep forgetting I need to find a mummy. resist fire isn't exactly like it is in Arena. Arena essentially makes you immune to any fire effects. I think resist fire here just gives you a very heavy damage reduction, but it's incredibly useful against certain enemies. Trying to find out where these doors are opening. So at some point I want to consider resting just to get my spell points back up. So, seeing that restoration skill is ideal. 54 is still not quite where it needs to be, but it's better than nothing. I always hate it when there's a lever inside of one of these dungeons because it always means there's some insane puzzle that I'm going to need to figure out. Found the puzzle. I think one of the points where I'm really split on Daggerfall is you'll get interesting rooms like that one where the casket is. And obviously there's a lot of kind of character and story behind that. But it sort of seems like this has been put into some kind of a program to generate all of the levels. And so all of the potential story and all of the experience that you'd sort of imagine inside the dungeon isn't really there anymore. Now, obviously that's the technology that lets us have lots of things to do inside the game, but it's definitely a quantity over quality judgment in this case. Because it's sometimes hard to say that an experience like this, where I'm just kind of going through some labyrinth with rooms that go to nowhere, you know, whether or not the rooms that are full of character are really worth it when you run into them.
The scrap of parchment shows you the location of the Tower of Kingling you recorded on your map.
Again, I may not have any use for it. I traditionally have not followed these treasure hunts just because there's too many of them and I've got enough things to do already, but I write them down each time just in case. Sneaky. Getting the mithril katana isn't really going to be something that I need anymore, but it should be good for a sale. I'm pretty much at the point where the only upgrade for me is a Daedric Daikatana. Check this out in a little bit, just because there's traditionally been rooms where there's some kind of a quest item. Alright, no luck. Very impressive, but not helpful to my purposes. I never understand how these work. I'm just teleported to the rafters. This is what I'm talking about when it sort of ruins the effort of having these really kind of story-rich rooms. So that'll probably open up that gate that I was having trouble with before. Problem is, I have no idea where it was. Sometimes you can see it on the map. I'm also trying to think, is there something in here that I missed that I should be paying attention to? Alright, against my better judgment, I'm gonna go back and check that out. So apparently this hasn't been explored. Alright, so it's possible that one of those levers I pulled lowered. I hate doing this, but I have neither the time nor the inclination to sort out this nonsense. Okay, so apparently I'd been in the room with this thing before. Oh, what is this game? Oh no, I hadn't. So let's see where we messed up. Okay, so apparently I had been here before. I think this is the place where I said I didn't want to deal with the maze. And this is why. Oh wow, I had really gone through just about everything. I'm just trying to find a place to rest up so that I can cast Arc Strength. was an... What? They put the objective behind a secret door.
You found the wrappings that Mordenak Woodfield wanted you to get from Mailings.
I'm gonna hang on to that one because I need to identify it. I might want to change sort of home bases because I don't believe there's a pawn shop in Mercaster. Not much to do at 6 in the morning. This is just so I can sell a couple of items. This was like the first one that I found.
Not bad, not bad. I give most people less, but for you, 5,073 gold. That's my absolute best offer.
Well, that's a nice little batch of mana I just wasted. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I want to sell that isn't at a pawn shop. Well, we can go to the bank at least. Alright, we now have 100,000 gold, although I think the houses are still quite a bit more. So the one drawback is I would have loved an opportunity to go from this city back to Daggerfall, just in terms of a quest or something like that, but that's obviously not going to happen, and I do need to find a way of getting to a pawn shop to sell off some of these other items. Alright, we need to wait for it to open. Gotta find something to do for 10 minutes. Alright. That's all that I needed.
Now that is a lovely piece of wrapping. Thanks awfully. I believe we agreed on 560 gold pieces, yes?
So again, most likely what's going to happen here is we'll be looking for the Mage's Guild in Daggerfall. But this is going to give me a chance to stop by a pawn shop to sell off some things. And I'll have a slightly little better economy when doing my quests. If I really need to, I can always go to the Fighters Guild for more quests, but my aim here is to try and level up within the Mages Guild first, because then I'll get access to further services. I never got to see what the weapon was. Not bad, actually. I think I'll hang on to that weapon just for now.
Enough of this endless dickering. You are obviously in great need. Normally I would pay far less, but for you I will offer 578 gold.
I think the Mage's Guild in Daggerfall's on like the far west, but yep.
Incense and soft music soothe your nerves as you cross the threshold. Each item in the shop is carefully mounted and displayed. Not the slightest defect can be detected on any item within.
Hey, boss.
My name is Daggerfall Kingling. We need someone to kill a rogue imp for us. Are you interested? The job does pay 522 gold.
I am.
Fine attitude, Caius. There's one thing I did not tell you. This imp was a familiar to a very high-ranking mage. It seems the imp fell into an experimental spell and has been imbued with all manner of spell-like powers. You can find the creature at the Palace of Knightstown. Apparently, it thinks it's fit to rule. Do be careful, Caius. If you are not back within 17 days, we shall assume that you are dead.
I'm gonna try something new here. So my magic goes up when I rest at the ends on the way to the to travel. So in this case, I'm just gonna try casting a bunch of healing spells each time I travel. As you can see, my 2019 computer is really struggling to render the power of the Elder Scrolls. There usually isn't anything else here, but I have no idea if this accomplishes anything, but I should double check that the pawn shop. I feel like I should have been able to sell some other items at the pawn shop. Apparently not. Fair enough. I'm trying to think of better opportunities to try and level up my restoration as well as do slightly more diverse quests and such, but it's a tough call. Just because obviously improving my reputation in the Mages Guild as well as leveling up abilities is sort of my highest priority, other than story quests, and I don't seem to have any of those at the moment. It's also possible that I missed some link in the chain, and I'm going to have to restart the story at some point.
Tough little beggar, eh? Well, you certainly have earned your pay.
I've been forgetting to train. Sure, another rogue impetus.
On the 7th of first seed every year, the people of Aldingwall celebrate first planting, symbolically sowing the seeds for the autumn harvest. It is a festival of fresh beginnings, both for the crops and for the men and women of the town. Neighbors are reconciled in their disputes, resolutions are formed, and bad habits dropped. The diseased cured. The clerics at the temples run a free clinic all day long to cure people of poisoning, different diseases, paralyzation, and other veins found in the world of Tamriel.
Looks like we've been here before. It's always in the same room. Always falls with one hit. This doesn't exactly seem to be getting me anything more as far as restoration is concerned. Actually, one thing I am interested in is what spells count as restoration spells.
One of our brilliant students is absolutely mad for something called Basilisk's Eye, which we haven't had much call for before. Would you, if it's not too much of a bother, scurry over to this particular locale and grab some for us?
Why not?
Excellent attitude, Caius. You're looking for Basilisk's Eye, which can be found in the hold of Murston. You have 17 days to bring it back.
Alright, let's find out about these restoration spells first. This is great. Every reference says spells such as. Not good enough. Here's a list.
Alright, so restoration spells, it turns out, are Balania's Antidote, Balania's Bomb, Charisma, Cure Disease, Cure Poison, Energy Leech, Feat of Notorgo, Fortitude, Free Action. Heal, Iron Will, Jack of Trades, Jumping, Magica Leech, Nimbleness, Orc Strength, Spell Absorption, Spell Resistance, Spells Shield, Stamina, Strength Leech, Troll's Blood, Vampiric Touch, and Wisdom. And maybe for the benefit of... okay, so... I'd love to do this in character voice, but this is purely mechanical stuff. So here is the article on how leveling works. In Daggerfall, character development is based on a leveling system that is directly affected by the skills mechanic. So the leveling equation is, it's determined by the following equation. The level is the floor of S minus S0 plus 28 divided by 15. So S is the sum of the 3 primary skills, the 2 highest major skills and the highest minor skill, and then S0 is the sum of the starting values for each of those skills. So I think the idea here is... oh, actually, that's going to make things really tough for me. I'm going to look at that in a little bit. Leveling mechanics. In order to gain level, the character must rest after any combination of the following skills have increased 15 times. The 3 primary skills, the highest 2 major skills, and the highest minor skill. A new character needs only needs 2 skill increases to reach level 2. Leveling rewards. The following is awarded each time a character gains a level, between 4 to 6 attribute points and increased maximum hit points. Skills, skill mechanics. All skills have an individual 6-hour cooldown period in game time that affects when it can be increased again. Skill increases occur after resting, loitering, or fast travel. A skill can be increased in the following ways. Using a skill a certain number of times, the skill advancement for class setting affects this. Now, I don't believe there's any way for me to see that, so skill... yeah, that's in the class maker, which I did not use. The level or percentage value of the skill also affects this. Uses required increases with skill levels that are multiples of 15. When a skill reaches 15%, 30%, 45%, 60%, 75%, and 90%. Paying a skill trainer, when a skill reaches 50%, the option is no longer available. Oh, it has a list here. The following is a list of the cheapest spells to create in each skill. Spell cost may vary depending on character level and proficiency in each school of magic. And as it turns out, they recommend for restoration free action, which we just sort of discovered on our own, so at least we're on the same page. And it doesn't seem like it's saying a whole lot. It recommends apparently you save before resting and leveling up, and reload until 6 bonus points, but I don't actually like playing that way. Yeah, and it says here, practice skills everywhere, run in town, sneak in dungeons, climb city walls, deplete spell points before resting, etc. Alright. And as we already identified, create low-cost practice spells. Casting a restoration spell with a cost of 5 increases the restoration skill by the same amount as casting a restoration spell with a cost of 50. So, nice independent verification, I suppose.
Herald of Morston is found just within this this little closet. Oh, this is gonna suck. A mermaid. So at least now I know I've got free action to deal with these problems. I wish I could find Polania's bomb faster. By the way, it's really weird that I have a Cure Paralysis spell, which costs 200 mana. And apparently a 5 free action is enough. I'm happy about it, I just don't understand why it costs so much. This dungeon sounds like it's full of paralyzing creatures. Oh God. If this winds up putting me in the water, I'm going to be very upset. Oh, damn it. Well, that was worth the trip. Hey. Alright, it's really tough to choose between intelligence and willpower. Could also do strength for my sword, but in this case, more int. We may also be able to level up in the Mage's Guild now as a result. now's a good time to get a glass of water. So if I want to move up, I can. I suppose the question is, yeah, I might as well. And there's obviously lots for me to explore, but I could get this out of the way. Paralyzation Central. Or Paralysis Central, I'm not sure. Yes, that does work, it turns out. Why would anybody do this? I'm gonna guess that this is a lot more about getting the elevator. Yeah. The problem with the levers and the gates and all of that is it's the thing that I'm guaranteed to cheat through the level on because I just don't have the time or the patience to go walking around, you know, two halves of a dungeon to figure out whether or not that particular stick was the one that lifted the not the drawbridge, the gate. So this room might have some interesting stuff in it. It just doesn't seem like there's an obvious way to... Doesn't seem like there's an obvious way to get down to all the goodies. I'll force myself to find a way. Whoa! Apparently that's a sneaky lich. Alright, so far so good. Oh wait, so that was just a random lich. Why not? I have no idea why they keep doing stuff like this. Like, apparently this only exists so you can find this one hallway. There's obviously stuff behind this wall, but there's no way through it. So apparently this is just like an elevator to a hallway which has a spider somewhere. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so don't save on elevators is the lesson. All these pathways to nowhere. the stuff that I was gonna do here. I do need to go back down that elevator, I suppose, but I'll leave that for later or never and just keep going around the edge here. I keep forgetting that the zombies are a bit different than the flesh Antronak. Alright, I'm gonna have to get some rest when I'm not in this death trap. There will be no consequences for going down this hallway with all the scary noises coming from it. Wait a minute, do I have to take the eye from the basilisk? Because this is gonna suck if I do. I can't rest here. Yeah, why would I? Walls are more guidelines than rules here. This room pattern is distinct for reminding me that it annoys me so much. Can't I just get some rest? So I'm trying to see if this is really worth going through again. Wait, this is the entrance. Oh yeah, I guess it is. Now, as far as like a haul is concerned, this is actually not a bad run, but man, that was I wonder if there's anything in the middle of that area. There's normally like some path down below, yeah. How badly do I want to see what's in there? Well, this'll suck. Let me help. All right, maybe let's not do that again. Alright, we're back on track finally. Again, no idea where I'm gonna find basilisk parts, but we'll worry about that later. The real basilisk eye was the friends we made along the way. I am told that apparently you're supposed to be able to go through these things, but this is probably premature, and I really don't like that I'm doing this, but I really don't want to go through all that trouble again, so I'm just gonna teleport to the next. If I wind up getting to the target, there's not much I can do about that, but that seems like a lot of effort just to wind up back at the start. Every time I damage myself, I just say that it's an attempt to practice my healing. I think I just did a big circle. Alright, I think we're back on track to finding new things. Ah, that was heal. Oh no. Portal's my other favorite. No, maybe not. So there's a big hole in the floor somewhere, but I don't think I can get there from here. Now I may wind up teleporting again. I don't mind trying to go through a dungeon the normal way, but there's a big challenge in just having to go over long areas you've been before. And especially now that I know that some quest items are hidden behind secret passages, I'm much more inclined to cheat. Well, there it is. Wow, there's a lot of stuff. Oh, okay, it's in one of these trap rooms. I think the way I'm going to handle this is I'm going to rest up to do orc strength once I find the items I want to pick up. I might as well also have gotten a disease from one of the zombies. This is just gonna be a big looting run now, and then I can use the recall spell. Plus it gives me a chance to see what I missed. So I suppose the one bit of good news for me is that, well, about my cheating is that, apparently I was nowhere even remotely close to where I needed to be. Got in just under the wire on that one. Alright, and is though. Again, this is going to be pretty good haul for the pawn shop when we get there. So let's see if we moved up in the guild. This is very early. So we'll head down to the pawn shop first, then in the bank. And then, we'll obviously have to wait a little while, but then we'll get the Mages Guild and see what happens. I may have to end early, but what I think I'll do is I'll read through whatever books I can, and then we'll call it a day. Alright.
Enough of this endless dickering. You are obviously in great need. Normally I would pay far less, but for you I will offer 5,767 gold.
To the bank. Incidentally, if you do enjoy this series, I am a little bit at a loss on whether or not I should continue with every dungeon that I do, or if if it would be better for me to just put up some highlights of the dungeon. Well, the intention was to do a full Daggerfall playthrough from start to finish without highlights. So maybe it'd be better to say, is it better for me to try and pursue my advancement within the Mages Guild like this? Or would you prefer me to make some more progress with the main quest and just generally get on with things? I don't think I'll do highlights just because that wasn't the intention of the series at the time, but there's definitely some differences in terms of how I play the game. And if you have an opinion, feel free to share. So I have to keep a little bit more gold on me now just because of the training costs. Again, I'll harass the townspeople to pass the time.
Caius, the Archmagister has approved your promotion to the rank and station of Enchanter in the Mages Guild. As an Enchanter, you are hereby granted the right to use the Guild's enchantments as you see fit. Our Magesmith will be honored to assist you in enchanting any items you desire. If I may be so bold, I offer you my personal congratulations to you, Enchanter Caius. I suppose this will do. You couldn't have brought back a Fesha sample. The quality of the guild members just isn't what it used to be. Well, here's your finder's fee, Caius.
So much for the promotion. Alright, let's see what cool things I can access now. Ah. to make some decisions about this, but I think probably something like... Oh, actually, that's not that bad. So let's see how this works. Okay, so it's not bound to myself. You know what? I'll figure this out later in another broadcast. Let's read some books. Don't remember if we did this one or not.
As uncovered and translated by Anita Joan, Royal Archaeologist from an Ancient... Actually, we should be able to find that.
So I did do this before. think The Asylum Ball was one of the first books I ever read. Alright.
The Fairy. Fairy have been in Tamriel, in all probability, long before recorded history, and perhaps since or before the days of the Elder Ones. The tales of their mischief are to be found in every culture, in most every village, town, and city-states in the Empire. Alternatively, they are called Fairy, Fae, Ilyadi, spirits, pixies, and sylphim, and their natures seem to flit from one story to the next with the same variation. It could almost be said that fairies are anything unpredictable in nature. The noted scholar Artabazus, studying at the time in the Crystal Tower of Somerset Isle, developed an interesting, if controversial, theory about fairy. He organized the Fey variants on a chain, beginning with the glimmering sparks called pixies, or Willaki, by the Red Guards at one end, and the godlike beings such as Gatus, Chonus, Sigria at the other. The middle are human and semi-human beings, generating up to intelligent trees, brooks, rocks, and even mountains. All of this was a new, completely original theory that could have prompted enthusiastic, if somewhat skeptical, response had Artabazus not added this footnote. It may be that elves as a whole are part of this chain, above Willaki and below Nephrine. They certainly have similar features and propensities for magicka as other fairy. Artabazus the fairy chain first told 2nd Era 456. No elf liked to be put in a hierarchy slightly above whimsical pranksters like the Willaki, and Artabazus was challenged on his assumptions based on very slight coincidences. Nevertheless, with modification, his fairy chain theory has gained wider and wider acceptance since its publication. The hierarchical chain is not, in the strictest sense, an order of command. While Gatus and Sigria are said to be surrounded by a host of minor sylphim, fairy, on the whole, are not followers nor leaders. Their plans and schemes are not governed by a higher purpose, simply by their own whim. To this most fairy scholars agree, because it is based on coincidental evidence and supported by auxiliary theories. It may very well be wrong.
Well, I'm glad we did that then.
Biography of Queen Berenziah, Volume 1. Late in the 2nd Era, an heir, a girl child, Berenziah, was born to the rulers of Mournhold and Morinwind. I actually think we've read this before, but we'll read as much as I can. Late in the 2nd Era, an heir, a girl child, Berenziah, was born to the rulers of Mournhold and Morrowind. She was reared in luxury and security befitting a royal dark elf child until she reached 5 years of age. At that time, His Excellency Tiber Septim demanded that the decadent rulers of Morrowind yield to him and institute imperial reforms. Trusting to their vaunted magic, they impudently refused, and much of Morrowind was laid to waste in the conflict that ensued. The little Princess Berenziah and her nurse were found among the wreckage. General Simicus, himself a dark elf and born in Mournhold, suggested to His Excellency that the child might someday be valuable, and she was placed with a loyal supporter who had recently retired from the imperial army. On retirement, Sven Anvinson had been made Baron of Blackmoor, a small town in central Skyrim. Baron Sven and his wife reared her as their own daughter, saw to it that she was educated appropriately, and more importantly was taught the imperial virtues and piety. In short, she was made fit to take her place as a member of the new ruling class of Morrowind. The girl Baronziah grew in beauty, grace, and intelligence. She was very sweet-tempered, a joy to her adoptive parents and their 5 young sons, who loved her as their elder sister. Other than her appearance, she differed from young girls of her class only in that she had a strong empathy for the woods and fields, and was wont to escape her household duties to wander there. Baronziah was happy and content until her 16th year, when a wicked orphan stable boy, whom she had befriended out of pity, told her that he overheard a conspiracy of her dear guardian. Baron Sven, said the boy, had dealt with a Red Guard visitor to sell her as a concubine in Riyadh, and no Nord or Breton would marry her on account of her black skin, and no Dark Elf would have her because of her foreign upbringing. "Whatever shall I do?" the poor girl wept, trembling, for she had been brought up in innocence and trust, and it had never occurred to her that a friend would lie to her. The wicked boy, who was called Straw, said that she must run away if she valued her virtue, but he would come with her and protect her. Sorrowfully, Baronziah agreed to this plan, and that very night Baronziah disguised herself as a boy, and the pair escaped to the nearby city of Whiterun. After a few days there, they managed to get places as guards in a disreputable merchant caravan. The caravan was heading east by the side roads in a dishonest attempt to elude the lawful tolls charged on the highway. Thus they eluded pursuit until they reached the city of Riften, where they ceased their travels. They felt safe in Riften, close as they were to the Morrowind border, so dark elves were commonly seen. The story of how Baronziah finally came to the throne of Mournhold after this fitful start is told in Volume 2 of the biography of Queen Baronziah. The Biography of Queen Baronziah, Volume 2. The first volume in this series told the story of Baronziah's origin, heiress of the throne of Mournhold, until her father king rebelled against his excellency Tiber Septim and brought ruin to the province of Morrowind. Due to the benevolence of the emperor, the child Baronziah was not destroyed with her parents, but reared by Baron Sven of Blackmoor. She grew beautiful, pious, and trusting in his care. This trust was exploited by a wicked orphan stable boy at Baron Sven's estate, who with lies tricked her into fleeing Blackmoor with him. After many adventures on the road, they settled in Riften, a Skyrim city on the border of Morrowind. The stable boy Straw was not altogether evil. He did love Baronziah in his own selfish fashion, and the lie was the only way he could think of that he might have her. She, of course, felt only friendship for him, but he was hopeful that she would change her mind. He wanted to buy a small farm and settle down in marriage, but his earnings were barely enough to feed and shelter them. After a short time in Riften, Straw fell in with a bold villain of a Khajiit named Theris, who proposed that they rob the Imperial Commandant's house. Theris said that he had a client, a traitor of the Empire, who would pay well for the information that they would find there. Baronziah happened to overhear this plan and was appalled. She stole from their rooms and walked the streets of Riften in desperation, torn between loyalty to the Empire and to her friend. In the end, loyalty to the Empire prevailed over the personal friendship, and she approached the Commandant's house, revealed her true identity, and warned him of her friend's plan. The Commandant listened to her tale, praised her courage, and assured her that no harm would come to her. General Symmachus had been scouring the countryside in search of her since her disappearance, and had just arrived in Riften, hot in pursuit. He took her into his custody and informed her that, far from being sold, she was to be instated as Queen of Mournhold as soon as she turned 18. Until that time, she was to live in with the imperial family in the new imperial city, where she would learn something of imperial government and make the acquaintances of people of importance. And so it came to pass in the imperial city that Baronziah became great friends with Tiber Septim during the last years of his reign. Tiber's heir Pelagius also came to love her as a sister. The ballads of the day praised her beauty, chastity, wit, and learning. On her 18th birthday, the entire imperial city turned out to watch her procession back to Mournhold. Sorrowful as they were at her departure, all knew that she was ready to be the glorious sovereign of the new kingdom of Mournhold. Biography of Queen Berenziah, Volume 3. Berenziah was welcomed kindly by the Emperor Tiber Septim and his family, who treated her like a daughter during her stay in the newly built imperial city. After several happy months there learning her duties as a regent under the empire, Symmachus escorted her to Mournhold, where she took up her duties as queen of her people, under his wise guidance. Gradually they came to love one another and were married and crowned in splendid ceremony at which the emperor himself officiated. After several hundred years of marriage, a son, Helseth, was born to the royal couple, amid rejoicing and prayers to the goddess who had at last blessed their marriage. Although it was not known at the time, it was shortly before this blessed event that the Staff of Chaos was stolen from its hiding place deep in the Mournhold mines by a clever bard known only as Nightingale. 8 years after Helseth's birth, Berenziah bore a daughter, Morgaya, named for Symmachus's mother, and the royal couple's joy was complete. Alas, shortly after that, relations with the empire mysteriously deteriorated, leading to much civil unrest in Mournhold. After fruitless inquiries and attempts at reconciliation, in desperation, Berenziah took her young children and traveled to the imperial city herself to seek the emperor's ear. Symmachus remained in Mournhold. During her audience with the emperor, Berenziah, through her magical arts, came to realize to her horror and dismay that the so-called emperor was an impostor, none other than the bard Nightingale who had stolen the Staff of Chaos. Exercising the great self-control that she concealed this realization from him. That evening, news came that Symmachus had been killed in battle and that Mournhold had been taken by the rebels. Berenziah knew not where to seek help when a knock sounded at her door. It was Edwir, king of Wayrest, and an old friend of Uriel Septim and Symmachus. He comforted her, pledged his friendship, and confirmed her suspicions that the emperor was indeed an impostor, and none other than Jagar Tharn, the imperial battle mage. Tharn had supposedly retired from public work and put his assistant Rhea Silmane in his stead. As it seemed, Tharn had never left the imperial city. Rhea was indeed dead, but her ghost had appeared in Edwir's dream.
It was not Edwir.
Dreams, and revealed the true emperor had been kidnapped by Tharn and imprisoned in an alternate plane. Tharn then used the Staff of Chaos to kill her when she attempted to warn the council of his nefarious plot. Together, Edwir and Berenziah plotted to gain the impostor's confidence and unmask him with the help of another friend of Rhea's, who was currently in prison, but whose dreams she had access.
Never mind, that was me.
But to whose dreams she had access, and who possessed a great, albeit untapped, potential. Berenziah charmed and befriended the fake emperor. By reading his secret diary, she learned that he had broken the staff into 8 pieces and hidden them. She managed to obtain a copy of the key to Rhea's friend's cell and bribed a guard to leave it within the cell, as if by accident. Their champion, whose name was unknown even to Berenziah and Edwir, made his escape through a shift gate that Rhea had opened in the dark, rat-infested corner of the prison, where the cowardly goblin guards feared to venture. It took Berenziah several months to learn the hiding places of all 8 staff pieces through snatches of overheard conversation and rare glimpses of the diary. Once she had the vital information, she and Edwir fled to Wayrest, where they managed to stave off the sporadic efforts of Tharn's henchmen to obtain revenge. Tharn, whatever else he might be said of him, was no one's fool save perhaps Berenziah's, and he concentrated most of his efforts in tracking down and destroying the great champion. As all now know, the brave, tireless, and forever nameless champion was successful in reuniting the Staff of Chaos. With it, he destroyed Tharn and rescued the true emperor, Uriel Septim VII. Following the restoration, a grand state memorial service was held for Symmachus in the imperial city, befitting the man who had served the Septim family so long and so well. Berenziah and good King Edwir had come to care deeply for one another, and had married in the year after their flight from the imperial city. Her children remained with her, and a regent was appointed to rule Mournhold in her absence. She planned to return after Edwir's death. She was elderly when they wed, and so she knew that he was elderly when they wed, and so she knew that event, alas, could not be far off as elves reckon time.
So we've got Biography of Berenziah up to 3. And on that note, I think we will leave it for tonight. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.